Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about clothing then, because it's summertime, and I lost weight during the pandemic, and I gained it all right back up. So I was kind of hoping I could fit into my summer clothes, but I don't think that's the case.
You look awesome, Syya. So,
Oh,
it may be just psychological as opposed to real.
no, when you're muffin topping, that's no psychology. That's some straight up
Oh,
physics.
okay. Well, you know what? I've been muffin topping for the last 10 plus years. Not too
And you know
many.
what? And you know what though? Muffin tops rule because you know why? It was worth it while you were building and making it up, right? Because you've experiences, and you have some great memories, right? And I think it's all about the execution part of it, which was something that for this week's conversation on the Afterglow, right? Our guests, Mike and Erica Schultz, they were really focused on creating those priorities in life and hyper productivity. So, Erin, Rashmi, you guys ready to kick off Afterglow?
Let's do
We
it.
are.
All right, ladies, let's
do it.
do it. Let's kick off Afterglow.
I just love that music.
I've decided that when you've got people, your guests dancing to your opening music, like you've got something good. So thank you. I appreciate the compliment. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to the Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Syya.
And I'm Erin Gregor.
We are the co-hosts of Afterglow, but we're also the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises, a boutique podcast production agency firm. Just consider us the easy button. And we're also the Dallas co-chairs of Global Leaders Organization. Good morning.
Yes.
And you know what? Welcome back to one of my ultimate favorite GLO members, Rashmi Malhotra with Affinity Technology Solutions. Hello, Rashmi.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me again. This has been great.
It's always nice to have you. And honestly, I've been given feedback. I might want to diversify and get other GLO members on there. But at yesterday's discussion with Kurt and Erica Schultz, you were very vocal. I could see the energy and excitement in your eyes. And so I felt like their talk resonated with you. So I asked you to come back for this. So,
well, we got to address too, Rashmi's already implemented stuff that they talked about yesterday, which is insanely impressive. So I think she's the perfect guest.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Exactly. And good morning, Grace. Thanks for joining us. So, okay, let's talk about Kurt and Erica Schultz. First off, they started off their talk with why they did this, like their why, if you will. And it was a really traumatic and dramatic start to their business. Rashmi, what did you think about the way they started their business?
Well, I didn't know anything about them before yesterday. So when I logged in, it was I was a few minutes late, but as soon as they started talking, something just hit my heart because there was, what they're doing is so courageous because they are creating a productivity tools, coming out of a personal tragedy in their life, losing their son at the age of 5. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was, but it just got me engaged, and to hear their passion. And again, you're right, it's their why, because they did talk a lot about the, why is very important. And I think, as I was mentioning earlier, there comes a point in time where as Erin said it so eloquently, you've heard the same thing, or in just different style, maybe 10, 15, 30 times, and then bang, there comes a point in time when you're just ready to receive. And that's really how I felt yesterday. I was ready to receive what they had to share. So yes.
It was, yeah. They had an experience that I don't, and I won't ever have, but yet it's that pain that when you're giving yourself to a situation, in their case, obviously to their son, they realized that they weren't giving to each other as a couple. They weren't giving to their family, and they weren't even giving to themselves. And I guess it's like, what's that saying? It's like situation breeds necessity or something like that, where you're put in a situation and you have to figure out like what you're going to do with it. And they had the emotional intelligence to stand back a little bit and realize, okay, wait a second, we are treading water, but we're not swimming.
Yeah.
And that was a connection I made to their story and why, they were so focused on productivity, because they realized they weren't doing what they thought they were doing. So Rashmi, they had their acronym TIME. I mean, it's really all about time priority, right? Like prioritization of how we live our lives and what we decide to focus on and what's important to us. So now I thought I took good notes, and I don't think I did. So what did you get for time? Because I think mine was different than others.
So, again, it's a little long-winded, but if you don't mind, I can share with you, because that is one of the things I implemented immediately. I got off that call, and I was very inspired. Just from their story and what they're creating. And time stands for T is for treasured time. So again, Syya, you said it so beautifully. A lot of this was driven from their experience, what they were going through with their son Ari. And the treasured time, I just created these buckets, and I'm just writing. It's all about family time, friends, your priorities, your health, your wellness. For me, it's my meditation. It's all the things that are important to me, it's what I treasure. I've never put it under that umbrella. So it was, T stood for treasure. I stood for investment. So it's the investment of time in whatever you want to grow, be it your business or whatever aspect of life you want to grow, and I kind of straddled a couple things. I put health in T, and I put, health also in investment, because it's important. And, one of the things that they talked about is they were in the business of helping people be productive, but through their experience, they started to focus on sales, to help people be productive in sales. Because even though you're entrepreneurs, it does not mean that you have time to do whatever you need to do, which is not focus on your business. Because if you don't focus on your business doesn't continue to exist. So, a lot of the productivity tools are around sales, because that's really where they were focusing, to build their business as they were taking care of their son and their family. And then the other two are really, where, M stands for mandatory. So these are things you have to do. And, I'm kind of going through something right now, as Affinity is a women-owned business. Every year I have to get our recertification, and every year it's a chore, it's a thing, it's mandatory. It's not something I don't want to do, but I put it in the mandatory category. And I used one of their other tools that they recommended yesterday. And let me tell you, I was flying high. And E is empty. And believe me, I could relate to the squirrels that he talked about. I can take 24 hours and just, while it away, doing things that are empty. So that's really what time stood for. And it was one of the things that really resonated with me and inspired me to start thinking about what I was doing with my time. Because one of the other things, I just want to mention this, time, managing time to be productive is important, but to be productive and happy, as they talk about it, is really elusive for me. So this was good to hear.
Yeah, I think we really fool ourselves when we say we're busy. I really do. Like I'm like, oh, I don't have time. And I think one of the best analogies someone ever gave me was, okay, if your kid or your loved one or anybody who had no idea what you do for work, right? If they stood over your shoulder and watched you work for a day, where would they think you worked, or what would they think you did? would they think you worked on Facebook, or would they think you worked on Yahoo, or whatever what would they actually believe you did just by standing over your shoulder and watching you, and just by really, it's a lie. I tell myself all that, well, I'm busy, I can't get to it. But then I'll look at it and like, if I really sit down and focus on productivity, it's a night and day difference of what time allotment I really have.
So one of the recommendations that Erica made was like people keep food diaries. She said, keep a time diary. And she said, keep it down to your minute. Like literally look down and be like, okay, 10:10, I am on the, Afterglow live stream. Okay, 10:25, 10:26. It's like, it was really interesting because to me, that was like it's a painful truth bomb for yourself to understand 100%. That like, wait a minute, I've been slammed. Like yesterday, I spent so long working on some projects and I was like running late to the City Central, who, by the way, who is our podcast studio partner. They had their 1-year anniversary at their Fort Worth location. And I'm like running around trying to get things done because I was spending so much time working, with some client projects. If I actually looked at that time that I was doing it, I felt like all of it was working on the project, but even within the project yourself, even the tools that you're using to do your project, was I using it efficiently? And on the drive home, I was literally thinking about it, saying to myself like, okay, wait a second, this tool that I'm using, is it the most efficient tool to use to do whatever thing that I was doing for the task at hand? And I don't know if I could say yes or no to that, but I am going to be inspired enough on Monday to start a time diary just for, I hate to say it, it's a looking in your mirror moment, really, really honestly looking yourself in the mirror. And it's a scary proposition, you guys. Who wants to do that and look at themselves and say, wow, look at all that food and junk food I ate at this hour. Did I really need it? All those empty calories. And
as an entrepreneur, it's harder. Like we have more to do, but you don't have anybody standing over you with time. I mean, on clients, yes, you do. But as entrepreneurs, we are our own worst enemy, and we are the ones who we have to report to, right? So I'll get it done next week. I told myself I really wanted to do it this week, but I'll get it done next week. It's okay. And that week goes, week after week after week. And it's a lot different than working for the man.
That is true.
True.
That is really true. But what's funny? I also, so to counter that, right? Because I could see where at some point you're going to get anxious of going, oh my God, I'm documenting every moment of my life. Excuse me, every moment of my life. But the opposite is for some, not all, but for some people, are they doing tasks that are stressing them that aren't really going to result them the results that they want to get out of it? And I realize for me, if I'm eating, I cannot be working and eating. I used to work and eat all the time, and I think I never digested my food well because of it. Because if you're anxious, you're releasing a whole hell of a lot of hormones that is probably not conducive to actually absorbing food properly. And it's probably going to lead to other issues within your health and your body and all that stuff. So I've made it a point in the last few years to make sure that when I'm eating, do something that gives you pleasure, or just something mindless, so you're focusing on eating the food that you're eating for that few moments in time. And I mean,
that's great.
I mean, now granted, I also have a tendency to go down a rabbit hole if I see like a random YouTube video, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm squirreling away. But it's that one moment in time, and that's the discipline, right? And it goes back to focus. So with Kurt Steinhorst, who was the guest previously last week, I actually felt his talk on focus fit nicely into this week's conversation on that hyper productivity. Was you can't be productive if you're not focused either.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to go back and listen to that because I missed last week, but thank you for sharing. Focuses and Mike kind of talked a little bit about focus as well and how he focuses. Would this be a good time, Syya, to kind of mention? Because that's another tool that I implemented yesterday.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, it's a free flow form. Okay. And quite frankly, for those that really want to hear the actual flow of it properly, you can go to YouTube and see it, the live stream, or join GLO, and you can actually see it play back whenever you want to. I think the YouTube is a limited time that you can rewatch it. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rashmi.
No, so he called it sprint into the zone. So it's about focus. How do you focus on those tasks? And again, it's more about tools for sales. And again, this is really where I have my hang up. I can find everything else to do, but focus on doing the follow-ups and the touch bases with the people I need to. And what he talked about is, because in the past, I've heard over and over again, set a timer, set a time block, and he called it time boxing, on your calendar, and set a timer. One of the things that they said yesterday, which again also resonated with me, and maybe it's just I need things in very simple terms, but it resonated with me, and that is time up. Don't time down, time up. Click in my brain, it was positive. That 5-minute mark when I'm focusing on something is a hurdle. So if I see that I've reached that 5-minute mark, I can celebrate. And you know what? Celebration brings endorphins in me, because you ladies know me. I love to celebrate. That's my thing. And then, I can spend more time, and it can be as much time as I need to spend. Yesterday, I did that with trying to get the recertification in place. And before I knew it, it was 45 minutes deep, and I had gotten a good chunk. I'd made a list of things that I needed to, connect with my CPA and others that, to get all the information I need. But it was great. And I'd been putting it off, so I felt really good. So that was, again, the sprint up is something that I put in place. One other thing that he mentioned is that if you reach the 90-minute mark, give yourself a break, and give yourself a healthy break, because you want to let your mind, but it's going up. It's not counting down. I loved it.
Well, and that's such a great point though, Rashmi, and I'm so guilty of this. Do you guys find like you waste so much time making a mountain out of a molehill for what you're about to do? Like your certification, I know 100% for me, if that were me, I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to take me 5 weeks to do. Like I don't even want to approach it. I don't even want to do it. Like I'm in a position right now where there's stuff that has to get cleaned up. And it's just little, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, this is going to take me so much time. This is going to take me and I'm just thinking about how much time it's going to take me, where if I just sat down and did it, that stops consuming my brain and taking away from other decisions. And B, it's not that big of a deal. I just have to sit down and figure it all out. But I know taxes is another one where I'm like, I don't want to do my taxes. It's going to take me 8 months, and then I sit down and it takes me like 8 minutes. I'm like, what? Why did I do that? That was so silly, but I do it all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, well, here's a note that I had, which was like while you guys were talking, I was kind of giggling to myself, is Erica made a recommendation is when people define productivity, she says getting things done without feeling exhausted. And that's often the times how we feel about doing tasks that we do, especially when we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And she said, try to tweak the positioning in a way that it makes you feel fulfilled instead. So the example that she gave is how you integrate that happiness factor, if you will, is she hates cutting up apples, if you will, to make her kids breakfasts or lunch or whatever. She really hates cutting apples, which I think is funny, but she thought to herself, okay, now how do I make that in a way where I get joy out of it? And she tweaked her mindset, and as opposed to focusing on the task itself, meaning getting a knife, getting an apple and cutting it, or if you're like using those swirling things or whatever, she actually thought of it in the context of, I want a healthy lifestyle for my family. I want my family to eat healthy and get in the habit of eating healthy. And so for her, it was, I'm cutting this apple up because I am bringing value to their health, and I'm encouraging and enabling healthy behavior. And that was what made her flip the switch, if you will, of no longer hating the task of, doing the apple or creating, cutting up that apple to, oh, I'm promoting a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
I loved it. Easier said than done, guys. Is that not true? I mean,
again, it's intention. I mean, it really is. It's all about that. What's my intention in this? How do I rephrase it? I get to go to work today versus I have to go to work today. So, it's just like stuff like that. It's that reframing of it. But it's like even working out, like to your point, Rashmi, or taking care of yourself, like making that time for health. We have to do it, because I know for me, I get massively, like if I start getting really down, I can look back and be like, okay, what's happening? I haven't made the gym a priority, or I haven't made eating healthy a priority. And those things physically and mentally affect me, which is going to affect my productivity too. So we have to make this intention and change that mindset. I agree in so many areas, or just how we approach all our product or production.
Yeah. One of the things Mike mentioned, which, I've kind of put in place, especially for something that's very important to me is to be healthy and feel healthy. And, again, as women, it's important is to look healthy. I don't want those muffin tops that we were talking about just before we got on. Or at least I want mine to go away. Let's just put it that way. He was talking about a commitment contract, and that's what I've done in the last month. I've created, or maybe even a little bit longer, I've created a commitment with myself, and I'm so blessed that my doctor has a service that allows me to have an accountability partner with them, and I'll look forward to it. It's not always good news, but there's progress, so it's like he talked about doing a commitment contract that he has in place with one of his coworkers, or even a tool he uses for exercise or be healthy. And, and I think we all need that, real accountability partners are so important. Somebody that know you in the raw, like once you know your why, that's fantastic. But to create a habit out of it, you need, or at least I, as an extrovert, need those outside connections to keep me accountable to myself. So I don't look at them as being accountable to them. I look as my accountability partners to help me be accountable to me, because at the end of the day, I have the most to gain out of that, not my accountability partner. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. It does. And it can, and that's the thing that it feeds into the whole crux of their topic, which we haven't even touched on. And that's where I think, again, when a talk resonates, it may not resonate with everybody. But if you're hearing it, like Erin, like you had said earlier, if it hits you at that right time, in that moment of, your vulnerability, I guess, or open to it, I mean, it's
openness,
amazing.
I would say, yeah,
openness, right? It's like a light bulb moment. So I didn't, you know what? Look, I'm going to tell everyone this right now. Just because we do a recap doesn't mean we're going to do a complete Reader's Digest version. I am so bad. I was so engrossed in listening. I didn't take the proper copious notes that I normally do. So the 9 habits that they talked about is in their discussion. I just didn't write it all down. So for the sake of argument, I'm just going to go and encourage everyone, if you want to watch the original conversation to see the actual 9 habits for extreme productivity, you should go and watch it. Okay. It's 45 minutes long. Listen to it while you're washing the dishes. It's actually very helpful. So
let's actually really early on in the conversation. So, and I did capture them, but I only captured the 7. So, I think it'd be misleading. People need to watch and hear them speak.
That's our hall pass that we're giving, that we didn't get it all, but that's okay, because we don't have enough time, you guys. So let's just talk about some of them. Highlights that Rashi and I.
Okay, so my favorite of what she said. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No, tell me I was just going to say, what's the one that just popped out at you?
So the first thing she talked about, Erica talked about, was how to manufacture motivation. Ladies, let me tell you, that is my biggest challenge. I can let
Really?
the squirrels, pardon me?
I said, really? Like, you seem like you're always so motivated and ready to roll. This really surprises me.
But it's not the motive. So this is, and talking with people. I mean, oh yeah. I love that. But to sit down and make those calls and make those outreach, I mean, to do the things that I know as part of that investment, I need to motivate myself. So she talked about manufacturing motivation for especially those activities. And she said, it's a muscle. It's a muscle that you have to exercise exactly to really get to it. So my whole life, I mean, I'm driven by motivation, except when it's the things that I don't want to do. And then I can find 1,000 things that I'm motivated to do more than that. So that was my big highlight from her 9. It's 9 habits. Okay. I didn't get all 9.
Well, and the funny thing, she had a little stat there, and that's another thing. They had a lot of facts. Like, they've done their research, and they've actually, I admire these speakers that come on because they're well read. They studied it, right? They are experts in these areas. And so one of the things she said, that for those that do re-engineer their habits, they see 5x increase in productivity. So if you are managing a team, imagine if you can get them fully motivated and marching collaboratively, like we did 2 weeks ago's discussion on building a collaborative team, right? I mean, again, it's so neat to pull back all these other speakers and tie it all in, right? But the thing is, though, just because you develop a great habit and you got that muscle memory, if you will, to be disciplined enough and have that intentionality, if you cannot control your time, if you let people's values take priority over your own values, meaning don't say no enough, does it really matter? Are you really going to be effective? And when they were talking about the second part was controlling your time, that, again, goes back to the Kurt's discussion on focus. Mm-hmm. If you are a giving personality and all you want to do is please people, that's probably the hardest skill. I think that's probably the hardest habit to overcome.
That's me.
Yeah. Well, it's like with meetings, right? When everybody wants to have a meeting, I've become okay, what are we going to accomplish in this meeting? Do we need the meeting, or can it be accomplished via an email? Because a lot of times it can just be accomplished via an email, right? And I understand people sometimes need to talk, but it has to be, I need to be more efficient with my day, and sitting on calls that don't pertain to me, or an hour call that can be handled in a minute email is just not, and again, from a people pleasing perspective, it's okay sometimes to say, all right, what you want to meet with me? You want to have coffee? What are we looking to accomplish out of this? Like, is it really to have coffee, or, is there something I can answer for you that we might be able to take care of now? But I'm very protective of that, because I always sit down and be like, okay, I could have this time with my kids. Is this helping move the needle forward in this relationship, in this project, et cetera? Or is this just a waste of hour? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who are really meeting happy, and it's like, it's not necessarily needed.
Oh, yeah. No, that goes back to the networking discussion, right? Where you're meeting individuals where they want to take from you, but not give.
Yeah.
Or reciprocate in return, which, oh man, with this pandemic and things opening up again, went to a networking event a while back, and actually just last week. And gosh, you would think we would have learned something about connection, right? But people just fall back into their old habits. And that's where, executing in the zone, right? So let's talk about, it's really hard to actually do what you need to do. And for people like you and me, Rashmi and Erin, because you got so many distractions as well, is how can you ignore all those things that you don't need to do and just focus on that one thing to do? And Mike gave a suggestion of 20 minutes, start off with 20 minutes of one thing that you need to accomplish, just one thing. And that will help you get into the habit of building it up over time to multiple things, over multiple minutes, etc. But they both said this, do it first thing in the morning. Yes. Or first thing whenever you're at your peak optimization of productivity. Me, I crank out things at night. I am a night owl. I get this burst of like energy at night, and I don't know how to explain it other than I've always been that way. Rashmi, I think you're a morning person, right?
I'm a morning person. Yes. And yeah, and I love that. And that was that whole concept of sprint into the zone. So yes.
Yeah.
Great recap.
Yeah, no. So there's so much more, you guys. Oh my gosh. There's like, everyone's just going to have to like check it out. And I apologize. We didn't even go halfway near what we're supposed to, but that's okay. That's okay. That tells you sometimes when content's great, something that resonates with you, by all means, just because we're enthusiastic about it, it may or may not be for you, but take a gander and judge for yourself. So, Erin, what shall we talk about here as we wrap things up?
So this is all part of the Business Acceleration 2.0 series through GLO. And GLO is a really incredible organization for entrepreneurs and business owners to gather, to learn. And this series is just one of the many, many things. Get access to capital, all of those good things. So head over to withglo, GLO.com. You can be part of these every Thursday that they do. And then also we'd love to have you be a, oh my God, is it a Premier member? Premier. Okay. Mother of God, it's Friday. A Premier member in Dallas. Syya and I are the co-chairs, or anywhere for that matter. If you're watching from all over the world, we'd love to have you join us. And then you can join us at the VIP sections of these events. So head over to withglo, GLO.com to check that out and learn more.
Excellent. Oh my gosh, I can't speak English either. And on top of that, wow, we're on fire today. On top of that, though, we are launching Forum. Okay, this is beyond a mastermind. Think deeper, in depth, real personal relationships as you grow your business with folks that are in the same level of business, if you will, where you guys are going to be going through challenges together and really developing those deep and dark
sometimes
relationship
dark.
And sometimes dark. I mean, there is a saying there's like a bet amongst each other, see who cries first, right? But so on that note, next week, we are welcoming Linda Hollander. So I just misspelled her name. I just realized it's an A-N-D-E-R. So sorry, Linda. It's attracting corporate sponsors. So again, as entrepreneurs, it's great if we can bootstrap everything. But you know what? You might have events that you are doing that, hey, it could be nice to maybe offset some of the costs with your ecosystem and your partners. So definitely check out Linda Hollander. She will be speaking next Thursday, as Erin had mentioned, with the Business Acceleration 2.0 series. And of course, every Friday at 10 a.m., you'll have Erin and myself and a special GLO member chatting about it, recapping as much as we possibly can on the Afterglow Live Recap podcast. Rashmi Malhotra, as always, thank you so much with the Affinity Tech Solutions. How can folks get a hold of you if they'd like to get a hold of you?
Just Rashmi at affinitytechnologysolutions.com. Really simple and easy.
Excellent. And thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a great, wonderful week and weekend. And we will see you next week on the Afterglow.
Thank you, ladies.